So this is 3.js. Let's create new one. 4.js. So here I will write down the promise, and it means I promise to do something. That it means I want to get the data. So I'm promising to get the data from the server. In English term, it means that one. So either result is either promise is achieved. That means I give the data back. I promise I will give you data back. So either the promise is completed, it is achieved, or it is called resolved, or I could not keep the promise. In English term, I could not keep the promise. So it is rejected or failed or could not keep the promise. So when I say I promise, that means you say give me $20. So you say, okay, I promise to give you $20. So after some time you give the $20, that means you resolved it. Or you do not give the $20, that means you rejected it. So you could not keep the promise in the second case. That is what it means. So in the JavaScript, we start with the var p equal to new promise, and promise has arrow function, and inside the arrow function we get resolve and reject. I'm doing again and again so that you get the idea what we are trying to do. Now let's say here if we have a variable called as a equal to 2, and here I'm saying if a equal to 2, then I'll say resolve, success, else rejected to failed. So here we check the value of a here, that if a is 2, I resolve it, otherwise I reject it. And then I will say, I can append here also, like dot then, or I can say p dot then dot catch. In then I will write arrow function, and in the catch also I'll write arrow function. This is not the try catch block of JavaScript. In this catch we have the arrow function. In try catch we don't have arrow function. There is try catch method in JavaScript which we will see soon that does not have arrow function inside it. Here I will say message is coming, and I'll do console.log message is message. So here I'll do error, and error is this one. So if we run this one, it's same as we did yesterday. Sorry, what is this? So since a is 2, so we get the message of success. If I pass a equal to 3, I would have gone in else case and it is failed. I get error is failed. So this is the same example which we did yesterday, but I repeated the example again. Now let's try to do something different. I have p1 equal to a promise. Okay, so this is a promise, and here I'll say resolve and reject. Sorry, it didn't went properly. So inside it, I will use the set timeout, and in the timeout, I will write an arrow function and how many seconds I want to wait. I want to wait, let's say 15 seconds. After 15 seconds, I want to display the message console.log 1 because it's a P1. I will do 1 and I will resolve it as 1. So this console is only for my purpose to know what is returning it, and this is the resolve, that is the 1, it will resolve it. Then I will create another P2 with 2, and here I will resolve 2. Okay, now third will be I will create another P3, and here I will say 3, and here I will say 3. Okay, so here I will give the time of 15 seconds, then I'll say 5 seconds, and then here I'll say 10 seconds. Now I want to run all this three promise parallelly, and when all 3 are done, I want to display the message or I want to display the result. So if I want to run all 3 parallelly, so run all 3 in parallel. Okay, so I will run all 3 in parallel. So I will use promise.all. So what I will use? Promise.all. Promise.all means what? It will run all 3 together. And when all 3 are done, when we get data from all the 3, then only we will get result here in the promise.all. So if this is done in 15 seconds, this is done in 5 seconds, this is done in 10 seconds, so this one will be done in 5 seconds. So we will not return it after 5 seconds. We will wait for this also to be done. Okay, so this is how it will work. Now here I have to pass the array. In array I will pass all the promises like P1, P2 and P3. So each promise you know how it works. Now we set all. All means it will run all the 3 promises together, but it will give me the result only when all 3 are done. Okay, so I pass all the promise in an array, and then I will say dot then, and then I will say dot catch, and each of this will be arrow function, and this one also will be arrow function. So here I will say message, for example, message is coming, and I'll try to console.log that message. And here I will get error. I will try to do console.log of error. Error will come when we have reject. And when we have reject, it will go inside this catch block, irrespective of, let's say, P1, P2, P3. If P2 got error, then it will go to the catch block and it will not go into this one. And even if P3 got error, any one of them will get error, it will go into the catch block with the error which we get it. Okay. So let's try to run this first resolve case, and then we'll run the reject case. Okay, so let's run this one. It's pending. So it will wait for 15 seconds. So I got 5 seconds, it got 2. Okay, so this console.log comes from here. Okay, so that's why I was able to see after 5 seconds it was displayed here, this one was displayed here, and this one was displayed. But this message came only when all 3 are done. Okay, so here one I will say, I will do it again. Okay, let's do it again so I can explain you again. So here I will say 1, 15 seconds, 2, 10 seconds or 5 seconds, So console.log will come immediately whenever this promise will run, but this message will come when all three are done. That is after 15 seconds. Then 10 seconds. Since maximum is the 15 seconds, so when one will be done, then all three will be displayed here. Otherwise, whenever each promise is run, we see the console.log at that time. If I run it again, so after 5 seconds, I will see 2 of 5, that is this one. See, I am not still reached here. I am here. Now it's saying 10. And then it says 15. Once it reaches the 15, that means all three are done, and we go into the message part. So it says, what is the result of 1? It's 115. What is the result of 2? 2, 5. So I get array, and each one promise will give me the result in its own element. Okay, so let's write down this one. Okay, so I will create another one, py.js. Here I'll say promise.all. Okay, so now what will happen if I get reject? So let's try to reject this one. Let me delete this each console.log. Okay, so I will reject one of them. For example, I reject this one. Okay, let's do console.log there. I want to see. I will reject this one. Okay, and I will run it. See, once it gets the reject, it will immediately go to the catch block. It will not wait for this one or this one. These are gone in air. Okay, so we are getting this, since promise is run, so we are getting this promise, but we don't get the result here. Okay, so see, you can see the things are coming. That means the promise are there because it already gets started, timeout started. So definitely timeout will work at appropriate time, but we don't get this result of this or this inside the our promise.all. It will go into the error block. It will not go into the this good block, because once it has reached in the catch, it will not go here. So once it gets the reject part, though we go into this part console, but it is meaningless because we are not able to capture it. So once anywhere it says reject, it will go into the catch block. If all three are rejected, then also it will go the catch block with the first reject, and all others will go. All others will be, you know, they will give the result, but they will not be. They will give result here, but they will not be here in our promise capture phase. Here we are capturing it. We will use it here. We cannot use it here. We cannot use it here. We cannot use it here because this is Ajax call. When the result will come back, we need to capture it using this one. So if error is coming in any one of the promise, we go into this block and we are not going to this one. So this is about the reject one. Let's save this also. Okay. So this one 6.js, okay, I did not save. Promise.all with reject. It will go to catch block if any one of the promise is rejected. Okay, so if any one this is rejected, then it will go to the catch block. Though we can see the console log of 3 and 1, but they are meaningless. We cannot use them because they are out of the code. They are in the air and they are lost in the air. Okay, in this case we cannot use this one. We have to use this one. But if all are resolved, we can go inside this, and this message will be the array with first one will be the first result, second will be the second result, third will be the third result. Okay, so that is about the promise.all. So here, okay, let me write down something here. So here, this is the promise with all resolve. So if one is completed early, then other two, then other two will wait for the first one to finish. That means when all are done, then we get the final result here. But if you want that anyone who is done should resolve it, then use race instead of promise.all, and then it will resolve only the first one. Okay, so what it means, this we see the promise all, right? So, but if sometime if you want that we have three promise, P1, P2, P3, and you want to go to this resolve phase when any one of them is completed. For example, this 2 is completed because it is 5 seconds. Then you don't want to wait for others. You want to get the result and done. Then you have to use race instead of all. So we'll see one example of race. So here I have 3 promise, but I want that when 2 is done, then it's done. I want the result of 2 back. I will not wait for 1 and 3 like we did in all. So here we will say race. But if you see in all, we get the array. Result was array because all 3 result we want. But in case of race, we will get a simple message, that is this one. It will not be array because race will give only one message which is done first. So let me enter it. Okay, so once 2 is run, we get the message equal to 2. Though since timeout is already released, so we can see that 2, 3 and 1 are also done, but we don't capture it. We capture only the 2, which is the first one. Okay, so this is about the race. So we completed the promise, we completed the promise.all, and we completed the promise.race. We have seen the catch block, and okay, so these are the few promise we did for today. I will go with few more promises tomorrow, but before today I will do one more thing, different thing. Okay, let me see if I have any other example. Okay, let's do some other thing. There are a few more things in the promise which we will do tomorrow, but let's do some other thing today. One second. Okay, let's do the multiple return. Okay, so if I have the promise, okay, if I have the promise, maybe I can say P is equal to new promise. Okay, before I go this one, is promise.all and promise.race clear? Any questions on that? Okay, I will ask questions about promise after I'm done. So there will be a small test on promise. I will be asking questions on all the concepts of the promise. So if you don't understand promise.all, promise.trace, just ask me tomorrow. Go through the video today and just let me know tomorrow. So now we will go some chain. We'll see some chain of the promise. Okay, so I will say here arrow function, resolve and reject, and here I will say set timeout with arrow function, and I will say after 5 seconds you run it, and here I will say resolve, maybe I can say 10. Okay, so I'm resolving 10 number here. Now I can say p dot then, and here I will put catch. Catch has error, and I will say I got syntax error. I will say console.log error is error. Okay, so here in the then I will say arrow function, and here I will get some value, that is this 10. Okay, here I will say console.log value is value. So let's run this one and see what happens. So after 5 seconds we get the value of 10, that is this 10. Let's make a little bit more complex. So when I return this dot then, what I will do, I will return this value. Okay, what I'm doing, I am returning this value. If I'm returning this value, I can again call dot then, and here I will say, or I can say return value plus 10 more. Okay, here I'm getting 10, but when I'm getting something here I'm returning 10 again, 10 plus 10. So then here when I do console.log, here also I will get value because I'm calling dot then again, and here I will say console.log value is value. Okay, so what I'm doing, I'm calling the promise, then I'm calling dot then. Inside dot then I'm returning the value. When I'm returning the value, I can call dot then again. If I'm saying dot then again, so it will give me this value plus 10, that is 10 plus 10, 20. So here I will be able to see 20. So let's run this one. This is called the chain of the promise. So after 5 seconds, we get the value 10, that is this line of statement, and it will return 20. So I can capture it again 20 here. So here I am getting value of 20. So what I did, I created a promise and then I called that dot then and dot then. So that means it was a chain of promise. This is called promise chain. Let's return 10 again here. Then I'll call dot then again here. I'll call dot then again here, dot then here again. So like this, we can give multiple dot then, and whatever value we are getting it, we are manipulating it to different value, and I'm returning it. So each time the value is returned with a different value, because whatever value I'm getting, I'm adding 10 to it. So I'll press this again. So first time After 5 seconds, it's coming 10, which is this one. Then it's adding 10. Then it's returning 20 here. Then we have 30 here, 40 here, 50 here. So what we did, we have the chain of promise. We can write multiple dot then and we can return it each way. But this chain of promise was done with the previous dot then. I did not put separate dot then. It is a previous dot then. What will happen if I create this chain with different way? I will show you different way. First, let me save this one. This is the, we are getting the value, returning then returning. So let's do it in a different way now. So every time I'm getting value, I am saying p dot then. I can also say p every time dot then. That means I'm chaining in a different way. So each time, okay, let's forget about catch now because each one is separate one. We have to attach catch in each separate p. Now if I enter it, now see what's happen. So now what will happen after p is done? This is called separately and it has value of 10. This is called separately, it has value of 10. So each p was called separately and so every time we get the value of 10. So here we are not exactly chaining. We are just calling p dot then multiple times and so we are getting result multiple times. So we are not using the chain. Chain was used previously as I showed you. So this is something we are calling multiple times dot then with promise, but we are not really chaining. Chaining will take the one value and manipulate it and use in the second dot then. And then again it will take and it will call, manipulate it and then call the another dot then. So this is something 8.js. So this is not really the chaining because this is only attached to p every time. Chaining means it should be attached to previous dot then. That's the difference in this one. Okay, so there are a few more things in the promise which we will do tomorrow. And then on next day we will do async and await. So any questions on this promise?